Hello and welcome to another Planet Destiny State of the Weapon video. Today we will be going over auto rifles, their history, current place in the meta, and best perks to pair with them. For the history, I'm going to take this all the way back to the alpha and the beta. In both PvP and PvE, the only option for a primary was an auto rifle. Their damage was just so consistent at every single range. The lower to medium rate of fire auto rifles were the best, with the fastest rate of fire ones being kind of a joke. Bungie had a small nerf to them as a day 1 patch, but that still didn't really level the playing field. Once the game came out and people got their hands on some of the better legendary and exotic auto rifles, it was clear that something more had to be done. So auto rifles as a whole were nerfed into a state where they were an absolute joke. Sometime around Taken King, they were brought back up into a more usable state, with the Sleeper being the highest rate of fire types. Once you combined the right perks, these rifles were immediately one of the strongest weapons in the Crucible. In PvE, autos were still performing great as well. A few more small changes have happened since then, and now we're in the current meta for auto rifles. I'm going to start out by talking about PvP, since most, if not all, of the changes done to auto rifles were actually done out of how they performed in PvP. If I had to make a video a few weeks ago, Doctrine of Passing would still be the absolute best auto rifle in the PvP game. But the dial's been turned back just enough now, and the medium rate of fire auto rifles have been brought up just enough as well, that we're pretty damn close to auto rifles feeling balanced. Doctrine type auto rifles still melt people in the close ranges where they're designed to, but after the numerous damage nerfs, their long range capabilities just don't really exist anymore. Since fall-off's damage is so huge for autos, Doctrine type autos just can't compete past most medium range encounters. However, that's where the Monte Carlo type auto rifles will pick things up. Since they don't require extremely high stability, they can generally get a higher range stat and extend their damage out a little bit more. While they aren't as threatening up close, they can easily take someone by surprise in the medium ranges. So both of these types of auto rifles do have a place in PvP. The reason we probably don't see much of the medium rate of fire ones right now is due to people opting to use the faster rate of fire to cover the close to medium-ish range encounters, and then using a sniper for everything else. If someone is adept at using a sniper, chances are they have no need to take advantage of that extra range from the medium rate of fire auto rifles. This brings me to the slowest rate of fire autos. I get asked a lot if I think they're balanced. And yeah, I think they are. In PvP, they absolutely demand respect, and you can have success with them. The problem is that the range that they're good at is also the range that medium rate of fire auto rifles will find a little bit more success. The range fall-off of autos is so severe that there's no way they'll challenge a scout rifle. So they're in this weird middle ground of being good, but everything else is just a little bit better. Since you have to stay on a target with auto rifles, the medium to longer ranges tend to favor weapons that will allow you to dip in and out of cover. So this is another thing directly working against this type of auto rifle. The slower damage output means there is a larger room for failure. We see the exact same thing with the slowest rate of fire pulse rifles, but to a lesser degree. My one other gripe with autos in PvP is that the Doctrine of Passing style need extremely specific perks. You pretty much need to get the stability as high as possible, and then have counterbalance on there as well. This limits the role possibilities of the entire archetype, and also the changes that have happened to it have been because of this specific role. I really wish the entire archetype maybe got like a damage pass, and also maybe look at the recoil so we could have other options for perks. As it stands right now, you either use counterbalance and brace frame, or you just don't use the archetype. Moving on over to PvE, autos are in an okay spot as well. In the PvP section, I spoke about their fall-off damage being pretty severe and sudden. This is pretty much the main reason why autos don't see as much play as, say, a pulse rifle or a scout rifle. In PvE, you generally want to stay as far back as possible because NPCs have some gnarly melee attacks. Even if you are able to land consistent shots on faraway targets, you won't be able to take advantage of the auto rifle's constant stream of damage. You'll have to occasionally stop and regain your sights on a target, as long as they're moving. My main issue is that in PvE, there's no benefit to having a weapon that's only good at the medium ranges like auto rifles. Sure, Doctrine of Passing can pump out good damage in the close to medium range, but so can a scout or pulse rifle. Same goes for other archetypes. Why use autos when they don't have any particular benefit over scouts, pulses, or even hand cannons? The perk selection for autos doesn't really make them stand out either. You can get some range or stability buffs, but nothing really makes an auto rifle take that leap into a standout weapon for an encounter. This is of course aside from all the exotic auto rifles with Necrochasm's Firefly and Zalos Supercell's AoE type perks. Legendary rifles don't have access to those, so my previous statement still kinda stands. I'm probably making it sound like auto rifles are just horrible weapons, and I should clarify, they are fine. You shoot them, they kill stuff as long as you can keep your reticle following a target. But they're far from the best thing you could be using. If you're the type of player who wants to min-max your character, then chances are you already have a good scout pulse or hand cannon that does everything you need in PvE. Autos just exist as that easy source of primary damage that doesn't really excel at killing things quickly. It will be reliable, but there are faster options for primaries. I said earlier that I would be going over must-have perks for auto rifles, but this weapon type is in a really weird spot. For PvE, there aren't any must-have perks. An auto rifle with decent stability and range, but bad perks is going to perform just as well as one with better tier 1 and 2 perks. The only notable exception for PvE would be something like crowd control, which is the only perk for auto rifles which really ups the damage reliably. Auto rifles do have the exclusive focused fire perk, but that just turns out to make your rifle do less damage in the grand scheme of things. The only true notable exception is that the Doctrine-style auto rifles pretty much require counterbalance and some stability perk as well to make them remotely useful in PvP. Aside from that though, nothing truly stands out as an absolute must-have perk for auto rifles. While that does sound depressing, it does open up some of the more interesting doors for weapon customization. If you really like the buff that Take a Knee offers, it's fine to take it. A lot of lesser used perks like that are more interesting choices on auto rifles because their potency isn't dictated by some of the more powerful perks. I hope you all found this video helpful. As always, let me know in the comments if there's anything I can do to improve this series, as it's kind of a work in progress. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.